We talk about the internet as if it floats in the air, saving files to the cloud. But track where your data actually goes. It plunges far below the surface, coming to rest in the pitch-black silt of the ocean floor. Nearly 600 physical fiber optic cables quietly span the world's oceans. Together, they carry over 95 and up to 99% of all intercontinental internet traffic every single day. That traffic includes more than $10 trillion in financial transactions cleared every 24 hours. The global economy is directly tethered to these specific physical lines. Yet, the deep water sections of these critical arteries are incredibly small. The standard deep-sea cable is usually just 17 to 21 millimeters in diameter, roughly the thickness of a garden hose. These fragile strands are draped across jagged underwater volcanic ridges, subjected to the crushing pressure of depths exceeding 26,000 feet, and regularly exposed to marine life, including shark bites. Our entire digital infrastructure relies entirely on whether these highly exposed, incredibly thin lines can survive intact against the harshest environments on Earth. The core of that survival strategy starts with the optical heart of the cable. Inside, there are threads of pure silica glass, each one significantly thinner than a human hair, designed to transmit pulses of light. Engineers increase the data capacity of these tiny strands using a technique called dense wavelength division multiplexing. Instead of sending one signal, they fire multiple different colors of light, or wavelengths, down the exact same fiber. Because the colors are distinct, they travel simultaneously without interfering with each other. To protect those delicate glass threads, they are encased in a copper or aluminum conductor tube. This rigid layer holds the fibers securely in place and serves as a high-voltage power line. The empty space inside that tube is then filled with a thick hydrophobic gel. If the outer layers of the cable ever rupture under the deep-sea pressure and water attempts to enter, this gel instantly spreads to repel the moisture, keeping the glass completely dry. Finally, the core is wrapped in a layer of polyethylene insulation and braided steel wire armor. In deep waters, this outer armor is relatively thin, but near the shore, where the risks from fishing trawlers and dropping ship anchors multiply, engineers layer on much thicker steel to shield the cable. This microscopic, multi-layered manufacturing precision is the single physical barrier keeping the entire ocean away from the internet. Engineers didn't design these strict layers on the first try. They learned them through catastrophic trial and error in the 19th century. Look at this cross-section of the first transatlantic telegraph cable from 1858. When signals on this early line started lagging, the project's chief technical advisor, Dr. Wildman Whitehouse, decided the solution was to force 2,000 volts of electricity through it to speed things up. He misunderstood Ohm's law. Because the resistance of the copper was constant, pushing the voltage that high massively spiked the current. The excess electrons generated extreme heat, which rapidly melted the cable's insulation from the inside out, completely ruining the line. Modern engineers still face the problem of signal degradation. The longest systems stretch over 40,000 kilometers, and even through perfectly pure glass, a light pulse loses strength over those vast distances. This diagram shows the modern solution. To keep the signal moving, devices called optical repeaters are spliced directly into the cable every 50 to 80 kilometers. These nodes house lasers that amplify and boost the incoming light, firing it down the next stretch of glass. But those lasers need electricity to operate. That is exactly why the cable contains that inner copper tube. Shore-based power feed equipment continuously pumps high voltages down the copper line, powering dozens of repeaters resting on the ocean floor. An intercontinental internet connection requires a massive, unbroken, highly powered hardware chain, actively maintained across thousands of miles of hostile ocean territory. When you zoom out from a single strand of glass, you see a dense, tangled web of nearly 600 active cables stretching between the continents. People often ask why we don't just use satellites. Physical cables have an insignificant delay compared to a signal traveling to orbit and back. They possess vastly greater data capacity, and they are significantly cheaper to operate on major routes. Because these physical lines are both highly efficient and virtually impossible to replace with wireless alternatives, they form a massive structural choke point for the global economy. Researchers at the Carnegie Endowment note that these cables have historically been out of sight and out of mind. Today, their governance and physical security is a primary focus of great power competition, specifically between the United States and China. The threat matrix has shifted from accidental anchor drops to intentional sabotage. European nations are currently tracking a sharp rise in suspicious cable cuts, as Russian undersea warfare programs increasingly target the continent's data infrastructure. This picture of a military patrol boat highlights the immediate tactical response. Securing cyberspace now requires physical naval defense, with NATO launching new maritime missions specifically tasked with monitoring and protecting these deep-sea lines. The concept of a wireless cloud is a convenient fiction. As we push data at petabit speeds to fuel our financial and communication systems, defending these deep-sea lifelines remains a mandatory physical requirement to keep the modern world awake.